pilot reveals JFK knew about extraterrestrials and UFOs while he was president. A former pilot for John F. Kennedy has been filmed saying the assassinated president had seen government evidence of aliens and UFOs. The man, who features in new documentary Unacknowledged, is seen speaking to camera about a conversation with the president. He described the pair discussing a newspaper article that mentioned UFOs. The man, who is not named in the clip from the documentary, says the president asked him what he thought, so he threw the question back at JFK. He said, JFK responded, "Well, I asked you first." The man then said he did not think humans could be alone in the universe. He claimed JFK replied, "You're right, young man, there is considerable knowledge as far as the being of UFOs, and the ET phenomenon that we are aware of today." Richard Dolan, UFOs, and the National Security State 2, The Cover-Up Exposed 1973–91. Setting aside the truth value of the UFO phenomenon, it is an interesting sociological reality that so many people are unwilling to discuss the most, and at times traumatic, experience of their lives. What does it say about our society that this is so? My feeling is that, by its very nature, it represents a form of repression. If you are a reader who believes UFOs to be nonsense of some sort, I can nevertheless assure you that you have a friend or relation who has seen one. They have simply learned not to discuss it. Many people can live perfectly well within the constraints of repression and denial. They simply learn to shut off certain parts of their mind. It is sad, but it happens all of the time. But not everyone is the same. Not everyone is willing to do this, or even can do this. By any estimate, there are millions of people on this planet who have had a powerful UFO experience. They cannot and will not be silenced indefinitely. Unacknowledged claims to expose years of cover-ups within the US government over the alleged truth of alien visitations of Earth being kept hidden from the public. It might sound unbelievable, but we are currently living in an era that's birthed the disclosure of some very sensitive information. So sensitive that despite all of the evidence, it's still hard for many people to think about, let alone accept. And that's the fact that there are now dozens of governments who have confirmed the existence of UFOs. We're talking about mysterious objects performing maneuvers that defy our laws of physics. Apart from having both visual and radar confirmations, there are hundreds of military officers from all ranks, politicians and academicians speaking out and providing evidence that suggests some of these UFOs are indeed extraterrestrial. One of the people responsible for this movement is Dr. Stephen Greer, MD and founder of the Disclosure Project in the Center for the Study of Extraterrestrial Intelligence, who has been on a mission for decades to shed light on the fact that we're not alone, that we've never been alone, and that an ET presence is currently engaging our planet and the human race. This person has been able to organize and bring forth hundreds of military whistleblowers with verified backgrounds, who have given some shocking witness testimony. One thing is for sure, Greer has some interesting connections that have allowed him to do what he does. He's known as the father of the disclosure movement. For one person to bring forth hundreds of defense employees is quite eye-opening. Out of all those who support him that come from different fields and verified backgrounds, Dr. Greer has amassed a great deal of credibility. Being in contact with, and referenced by astronauts, colonels, generals and more who have agreed to participate in the disclosure movement is what gives his project a special kind of credibility, because all those who agree to an interview do indeed come from where they say they do, within the military-industrial complex. Never before have we seen such a large gathering, all with verified backgrounds. Which is why, when he conducts an interview where the name remains anonymous, it's that much more interesting. Sure, we can't verify this person's identity, but the hundreds of others who have been a part of his disclosure project, as well as all of the big names who have verified multiple stories from Greer, it's probably best to give this one the benefit of the doubt. There is considerable knowledge as far as the actual being of UFO and ET phenomena that we're aware of today. Are there information that lends credibility to this story? According to author and UFO researcher Dr. William Lester, the CIA released documents to him under the Freedom of Information Act after he made a request while researching for his new book at the time, A Celebration of Freedom, JFK and the New Frontier. The document and story was brought forth by the Daily Mail, pertaining to a letter written by John F. Kennedy to the head of the CIA demanding to be shown highly confidential documents about UFOs just 10 days before his assassination. According to the Daily Mail, the secret memo is one of two letters written by JFK asking for information about the paranormal on November 12, 1963, which had been released by the CIA for the first time. It's understandable that a Daily Mail article and a claim from a UFO researcher isn't really considered credible, but what's even more fascinating about the story is the fact that it also appears within some WikiLeaks cables. February 27, 2012, WikiLeaks began publishing the Global Intelligence Files. Over 5 million emails from the Texas-headquartered global intelligence company Stratfor. The emails date between July 2004 and late December 2011. They reveal the inner workings of a company that fronts as an intelligence publisher, but provides confidential intelligence services to large corporations, such as Bopples Dow Chemical Co., Lockheed Martin, Northrop Grumman, Raytheon and government agencies, including the U.S. Department of Homeland Security, the U.S. Marines and the U.S. Defense Intelligence Agency. The emails show Stratfor's web of informers, payoff structure, payment laundering techniques, and psychological methods. From these emails, we have one that details information that documents by a gentleman named Timothy S. Cooper, who, according to many, leaked the supposed MJ-12 documents that dealt with the cover-up of UFO, extraterrestrial phenomenon. In the email, it states that soon after Kennedy became president, he began to needle the CIA for information on UFOs and that President Kennedy fired off a top-secret memorandum to him outlining a previous discussion concerning a classification review of all CIA UFO files that could affect national security. Dated 12th of November, 1963, just 10 days before he would be gunned down in the streets of Dallas, Texas. Kennedy informed Angleton that he was setting things in motion to actually share sensitive CIA UFO intelligence data with the Russians through the director of NASA. The email itself goes into more detail. The question to ask here is, why is a company like Stratfor sending emails within the company regarding this topic? Definitely interesting to think about. Perhaps the most interesting fact is that JFK was president right around the time a massive cover-up regarding this topic ensued. Only a couple of terms before his own, President Harry Truman went on national television stating that this topic is discussed at every single conference they have with the military. The topic of flying saucers and other things. He stated that there are always things like that going on. There are even claims that President Eisenhower held a meeting with extraterrestrials. His great-granddaughter Laura is one who has spoken about the incident. Today, presidents don't really know much. In fact, based on my research, when they do inquire they're not told much and they don't really have access nor a need to know information about UFOs and extraterrestrials. So who does?